From the moment I started writing this music, I imagined sitting right here, the day when I was going to get to bring the Atmos mixes of the record and the picture and do the mix for cinema. I think from the very start, I always dreamed in my mind, and even when I was mixing in my studio, of how this would come to life in a movie theater. I've had the opportunity to work with Steve Foster here and Mike Kennedy and the folks at Company 3 before, of bringing, music mixes to a soundstage with the idea of then using movie theaters to have collective listening experiences for audiences. And there's just nothing like being in a space like this. It's like taking a mastering level studio and expanding it to just be giant. I mean, it's like an Atmos roller coaster where everything is grand, but the same level of precision that is present in my studio in a much smaller environment, right? Because when I'm mixing it in my studio, we're designing experiences for what's called home entertainment, which means for people at home with the Atmos setup or a sound bar or even on their computer screen or headphones. But when we come here, this is where music and film are married and come to life. And this room is exceptional. So what we're doing here today at Company 3 is I have finished the Atmos mixes for the record, which are the mixes. What has to happen for this to now be put in a movie theater is it needs to be remixed for a couple of reasons. There is a technical reason, and that is that in order to deliver audio and visuals together to a cinema, it needs to exist on something called a DCP. And Atmos is a very specific file type that we need to print here. So at the end of today, we're going to press play, and we're going to print that thing into a very specific file type that will allow that file to then play back on Atmos cinemas anywhere in the world. Of course, it would then be married with the beautiful picture as well. But more importantly, on an artistic level, is I've designed this music from the very beginning to come to life here. And already, just by pressing play, it's like, yes, this is what it's supposed to be. But when we expand from a room like where I've been working, which is 1116, which is a lot of speakers, but it's not a giant space, right? It's designed to create music for spaces about that size, living rooms or even slightly larger environments, but not entire movie theaters. We're mixing in an environment where the speakers are quite a distance from us, and it can make us make different decisions, slightly different placement decisions so that we can fill a space, slightly different levels now that the center channel is, 10 or 15 feet from its speaker rather than in a home situation where it may only be 5 feet away. And so we just make those subtle tweaks. And I've been, from the day I started mixing, in fact, even back to when we were tracking, I designed these Pro Tools sessions and the routing of this so that it would be easy and logical to be able to bring the whole record sequenced in Atmos to this very Pro Tools rig here with Mike Kennedy and Steve Foster, and then have access to enough of the musical elements that we can make those decisions. And they're not big. They're all a little bit of volume here, a little bit of volume there, a little bit of panning here, a little bit of panning there, but this is the level of detail that needs to be present to make sure that the translation from a smaller environment will also succeed when we have experiences where we get to bring people into a movie theater and fill, 100 or 200 people all get to experience the record at the same time. And so even something I'm doing in here is walking around and saying, well, what happens if I am in the back of the theater? What happens if I'm in the middle back of the theater? What happens if I'm right up front? What happens if I'm, too close to the screen? These are all considerations to try and make an environment that everybody is going to enjoy. This experience already, even just on a personal level, I think this is why I started writing the music. I remember calling Michael Fisher the day that the concept for making this happen. It was like, I don't want to just make an album. That's not the goal. I'd like to make music that would come to life in a movie theater. And that involves, of course, immersive production of music and even composition of music and thinking about how does that work? How do we compose music and think about music in a way that it can fill a space like this and not feel like it takes the listener outside of the music, but rather that we can truly all collectively be inside it together, but then also marry that with picture, because that's what movie theaters are about.
Well, what is unique about this project is that all of the source material was recorded in a Atmos or multi-channel format. Often in cinema sound, our sources are all stereo, and we upmix that and create an Atmos feeling or immersion with material that has been recorded and mixed in stereo. And so we're deriving an Atmos sound field. This project is unique in that the source material was captured in Atmos, so that translation into a theater should be more accurate and more immersive than just taking what would have been stereo source material and creating an Atmos mix.
It feels like we get to tear down all of our preconceived notions of what Atmos mixing is and kind of approach it from a different perspective, which is the music dimension.
I just wish that I could bring every listener to this chair and just have them listen right here with me and with everyone who's here. It's a dream.